What's up, YouTube? It's your boy John from Project Ellsworth, and I am back with you today to show you guys another section of my horror movie collection. Let's do it. Alright, this week we're taking a look at row 3, section 2, and you're in the way again. Oh! Alright, it's this guy right here. I'll get those pulled and I'll show you what I got. First and foremost, as always, I hope everybody's doing well and staying safe. Alright, first up this week we have The Haunting in Connecticut 2, Ghosts of Georgia. So The Haunting in Connecticut that takes place in Georgia, I think that probably tells you all you need to know about this movie. It really isn't that good, folks. The first one was pretty darn good. Really cool, really creepy. This one, not so much. If you've never seen that movie, I wouldn't bother. Alright, next up is The Haunting of Molly Hartley. This is where there was a whole bunch of the haunting of and the possession of movies coming out. Molly Hartley is one of the many of those that I never saw. Haunting is a scream. Rosemary's Baby is all grown up and her name is Molly Hartley. Starring Haley Bennett. Or Haley Bennett. Where are we? Chase Crawford and Anna Lynn McCord from 90210. That's why I never saw her before, I'm sure. This unnerving trip into darkness, into the darkest fears of a young girl, delivers white-knuckle terror from its brutal opening scene to its provocative final twist. Molly Hartley hopes that her mother's locked away in a mental ward. Hopes that with her mother locked away in a mental ward. It's been a long day, folks. She can forget the violence of her family's past and start over. She has found a new life, a new school, and a new boyfriend, but when her secret past and haunting nightmares continue, Molly fears she has inherited her mother's psychosis. What she doesn't know is that she's inherited something else, a secret far more horrifying than any fate she can imagine, and a destiny she cannot avoid. I remember the trailer for this looking pretty good, and for whatever reason, it just got bought and put on my shelf and I never watched it. One of these days I'll get to it. Alright, up next is Haunting of Winchester House, a terrifying true story with bonus movie inside, Ghost Stories. Alright, so that's just one of those multi-packs that I probably got at like Dollar Tree or Dollar General. I don't know. One of these days maybe I'll get to it. Alright, next up is a movie called Hell with a slipcase. There you go, a better look at it. This movie was actually really good. I watched this a while back. Survival is everything. It was once the source of life, light and warmth. But now the sun has turned the entire world into a baked and barren wasteland. Forests are scorched, animal carcasses line the roads. Even the nights are dazzling bright. Marie, her widow... I lost my place. Marie, her little sister Leonie, and Philip are heading to the mountains in a car covered with windows. Rumor has it that there's still water there. Along the way, they run into Tom, a first-rate mechanic who becomes indispensable. But can they trust him? Tensions grow in the small group as if they weren't bad enough. They are lured into an ambush. Their real-life battle for survival begins. This was a really good flick. I never heard anything about this movie at all. This was just another example of those movies that showed up at Best Buy that I would see time and time again. Never saw a trailer for it, never heard anybody talking about it. And eventually I just bought the darn thing. And it turned out to be a pretty good movie. Really good buy. Alright, next up is a movie called Hellfest. I've recently heard a lot of people talking about this movie, and everybody seems to really like this one a lot. I haven't seen it. Hellfest is a giddy and almost euphoric horror experience. A group of friends are bound for a horror... Yeah, that is what that says. A group of friends are bound for a horror-themed Halloween event at a local amusement park. A sprawling labyrinth of rides, games, and mazes that travels the country and happens to be in town. But for one visitor, the ghoulish carnival of nightmares is not the attraction. It is Lord Almighty. It is a hunting ground on the night the friends attend, the masked serial killer turns the amusement park into his own playground, terrorizing attendees while the rest of the patrons believe that it is all part of the show. As the body count and frenzied excitement of the crowd continue to rise, who will fight to survive the night? So I heard this was really good, but I have yet to watch it. It's from the executive producers of The Walking Dead. So one of these days I'll check this thing out. I just got that not too long ago at Best Buy for a pretty good price. Alright, next up is one of those DVD stores going out of business buys. It is called Hellion. I've never seen this at all, don't know anything about it. Let's see, special features, behind the scene interviews, digitally remastered, a couple different audio options, widescreen, interactive menus, scene selection, filmographies, trailers, and subtitles. So not a whole lot of bonus features on this. Prepare for the horrifying story of the Graham family, who after relocating to the Gold Coast, found that the home that they have chosen is possessed by a deadly demon, and acting as a portal to hell. That word portal, I always have a problem with that. As her youngest children succumb to the terrifying hellish presence, it is up to Lynn and her oldest son Danny to bring them back and to get the family out alive. So it sounds pretty good. I have no doubt whatsoever that it's a very low budget movie just by looking at it. But I have not seen it, so who knows. Alright, next up is more familiar territory, is a Blu-ray copy of Clive Barker's Hellraiser. This is one of my all-time favorite movies. It's definitely in my top 10. Really, really cool. Pinhead is just legendary. I'm not going to read the back of this. I'm sure that all of you know the story of Hellraiser. One of the most original and memorable horror movies of the year, a hideous treat for the hardcore. Yeah, this is Pinhead and the Cenobites. They're coming back. They're searching for a guy named Frank. Frank was killed inside of a house up in an attic. Frank's brother buys the house, or I should say moves into the house with his wife. I can't remember what her name was. I forget what her name was. But anyway, they go back into the house, and when blood spills on the attic floor, it slowly starts to bring Frank back to life. And Frank is being hunted by Pinhead and the Cenobites. He did them wrong, and yada yada yada. You guys probably know the story of Hellraiser. Incredible practical effects in that movie. Groundbreaking movie. Clive Barker's legendary, and that's the reason that he was Hellraiser. Very, very good. Next up is the sequel to Hellraiser, is Hellbound. This is another one that was Clive Barker wrote this movie as well. There's a whole series of movies in here that are coming up next that had nothing to do with Clive Barker. But Hellraiser and Hellbound, Hellraiser 2, were both classic movies, awesome horror movies. If you're a horror movie fan, I'm sure you've seen these two movies. At the very least, those two movies in the Hellraiser series. And if you haven't, turn off this video and go watch those two movies. Next up is Hellraiser 3, Hell on Earth. This is where the movie started to take a downward turn for me. This was okay. It was definitely watchable. But it was nowhere near as good as the first two movies were. But I would suggest you give this one a watch too. Then comes all the movies that I don't even know whether or not I've seen them all. This is a 4-movie set, and this contains the next 4 Hellraiser movies: Bloodline, Inferno, Hellseeker, and Hellworld. I don't know. I want to say that I have seen Bloodline, but I wouldn't swear by it, and I don't remember it being obviously very memorable. But there's the next 4 Hellraiser movies, and then you have Hellraiser Deader. I know that I have not seen that movie. And this is the new Pinhead. This is the first time, actually the second time, that Pinhead was not portrayed by Doug Bradley. And this is Hellraiser Judgment. I have the other Hellraiser movie that's not Doug Bradley, but it's on like a double pack or something like that. It's somewhere on that shelf. I'll get to it eventually. Alright, next up is Henry, Portrait of a Serial Killer. This is another one of those movies. I did a review for this movie several months ago. Michael Rooker. This is a fabulous movie. It's really good. Very, very dark. It's almost like a video vlog, almost, or of a serial killer. Very realistic, very uncomfortable, and very disturbing. This is listed as one of the 20 scariest movies all time by Entertainment Weekly. I don't know if I'd go that far, but it's definitely worth a watch. It's really good, and it basically is a look of the life of a serial killer. So, very appropriately named. It's Portrait of a Serial Killer. God, excuse me. Really, really good, very dark movie. I'll put the link to my review of that movie down below in the comment section. Right, next up is Here Comes the Devil. This looks really familiar to me. I don't know if I saw this or not, to be honest with you, but it definitely looks familiar. Fantastic, strange, and unsettling is what Fangoria had to say about it. A couple's son and daughter inexplicably reappear after being lost overnight in a desolate, cave-riddled mountainside. Becoming withdrawn and beginning to exhibit strange behavior, their parents quickly assume something sinister happened to them. But after hearing an ominous local legend, the concerned mother and father begin to realize that their children may have fallen prey to something inhuman, and that this dark, unstoppable evil is now returning home with them. So it sounds really good. It definitely looks familiar. It doesn't sound familiar, but I would say that's definitely worth a watch. It's released by Magnet, and I believe this actually is one of those movies that I got for $1 at Dollar Tree. Got to check that out. All right, next up. This, for me, is absolute. This movie gets very mixed feelings. Just can't talk. Can't even try and get what I'm trying to say out of my mouth. Very mixed reviews on this movie, Hereditary. Most people either love this movie or hate this movie. But what I will say about this movie is anybody who has seen this movie typically has very strong feelings for it. And my very strong feelings for it are that Ari Aster put out one of the best movies, in my opinion, in the last decade. This movie, I thought, was fabulous. Incredibly atmospheric, incredibly dark and disturbing. There's a couple scenes in this movie that just make the hair on the back of your neck stand up. I love this movie a lot. And Toni Collette is the main character of this movie. She's the star. She could have, in my opinion, won an Academy Award for her job in this movie. She was just amazing. It's a witch story, but there's a lot more to it. There's a lot more depth to it. There's a lot more story to it. And like I said, there's some stuff in this movie that is just gut-churning. I actually may watch this one again very soon with my wife. I've been trying lately to get her to watch this movie, and I believe I'm going to somehow manage to force her to sit down and watch that. I can't wait to see the look on her face when it comes. Never mind. Check out Hereditary if you haven't seen it. I'll put the link to my review of that movie down in the comment section below too. Alright, here is another one that I know I haven't seen. I bought this very recently at Dollar Tree for $1. He's Out There. And A, I would have bought this simply because it was a horror movie for $1. And B, for some reason, as simplistic as the title of this movie is, I just like the title of this movie. On vacation at a remote lake house, Laura and her 2 young daughters fight to survive after falling into a terrifying and bizarre nightmare conceived by a psychopath. I just think that this movie sounds good, as basic as that seems, and I'm sure we've all seen that story 1,000 times. This just, for some reason, it has piqued my interest. Alright, next is another one that I just recently bought. Actually, I think Janae picked this up for me at Dollar Tree. High Plains Invaders. This is like an old-timey dude looking like he's being attacked by a combination of like a possum and a lobster and a rat. I don't know what the hell's going on here. No clue what that is. but it's just definitely like an old-timey sheriff guy being attacked by something that ain't right. This is one of the movies in the Man-Eater series. I've seen a few of those, and they're always very odd. No one invited them, nothing can stop them. The prairie hides a deadly secret. I don't know what the hell them things are. Look at that. Very strange. Alright, James Masters stars in this horrifying showdown of pioneers versus aliens in the rugged and ruthless Wild West. Wild West aliens. Sam Phoenix is just about to be hanged for his crimes when his execution is cut short by the sudden invasion of enormous and deadly insectoid creatures. As the body count rises, it is up to Sam to lead the terrified townspeople to safety before they are hunted to extinction. So it sounds fun. It's probably really ridiculous. I see things like this, and it always makes my mind immediately jump to Sharknado at this point. I see goofy things like that, and you don't get much goofier than Sharknado. I've seen a few of those movies out there to buy, and I can't bring myself to do it. I'll stick to the annual sci-fi event for my Sharknado fix. Alright, next up is a movie that, quite honestly, I'm surprised I haven't bought this on Blu-ray. I haven't seen it on Blu-ray, that's why I haven't bought it. High Tension. This movie is fantastic. It is one of those French extreme movies. It's got a twist ending like no twist ending I've ever seen in my life. It's really, really good. I don't think that you'll see the twist of this movie coming. A brilliant, terrifying shocker, one of the best films of the year, the best horror, a must-see movie of the year, a true horror classic. Marie and Alexia are classmates and best friends, hoping to prepare for their college exams in peace and quiet. They decide to spend a weekend in the country at Alexia's parents' secluded farmhouse. But in the dead of night, a stranger knocks on the front door, and with the first swing of his knife, the girls' idyllic weekend turns into an endless night of horror. They made that real difficult to read for people aging that need glasses to read. This movie, if you haven't seen this movie, I'm begging you to go get this one. Get it, find it, watch it, stream it, rent it, steal it. Don't steal it. Find this movie and check it out. This movie's fantastic. You will not go. I've never heard anybody out there ever say that they did not love High Tension. Go get it. All right, and lastly, The Hills Have Eyes. I think I did a review of this one too, but I'm not exactly sure. It's quite possible. And if I did, I'll put the link to that review down at the bottom as well. Alright, this one is pretty good. It's basically about cannibalistic mountain people that are robbing someone that's broken down in the desert. Another horror classic, Wes Craven, written and directed by, if I'm not mistaken, from the director of Nightmare on Elm Street and Scream, Wes Craven. I don't know if he wrote this one or not, to be honest with you. Can't remember. Filmed by Wes Craven, who's starring, blah, 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 blah. Sorry, people, I'm trying to figure this out for you. Yes, it was written by Wes Craven. Written and directed. I can't get used to talking today, apparently. I worked outside all day and my throat is dry as hell. My apologies. But yeah, written and directed by Wes Craven. Really good movie. Kind of a touch watch at times, but it's definitely worth your time to sit down. Give yourself 90 minutes to sit down and watch this movie. It's awesome. It spawned a sequel, a remake, and then a remake of the sequel. So, most of the time, when a movie gets a remake, it's for good reason, and that was definitely for very good reason. And it's a movie made by Wes Craven, so you know right off the bat that it's probably pretty darn good. It's got good roots to it. Alright, I hope you enjoyed that video. If you guys want to see me do a review of any of those, or give those a watch, and talk about them in an talk about it or them in an upcoming video, leave me some messages down in the comment section below. We'll see what we can do. I'm going to get out of here. If you guys like this video, please give me a thumbs up. If you really like this video and you've been enjoying my content up to this point, please do me a huge personal favor. Click that subscribe button and ring that notification bell. Take care of yourself. Take care of each other. Have a kick-ass day. And thank you for watching. Later, folks.